أكد رئيس الوزراء الإيطالي السابق سيلفيو برلسكوني أن ما حدث في ليبيا لم يكن ربيعا ولا ثورة، بل كان قرارا للسلطات الفرنسية بالتدخل العسكري في هذا البلد وتقديم نزاع داخلي يجري فيه على أنه ثورة لتبرر أمام المجتمع الدولي تدخلها في ليبيا. وقال برلسكوني أن الرئيس الفرنسي السابق نيكولا ساركوزي كان متحاملا عليه لأنه ذهب إلى ليبيا ورأى ملصقات كبيرة تحمل صورة القذافي وهو يعانقني، فعاد إلى أتباعه يقول أن برلسكوني وإيطاليا سلبان كل الغاز والنفط الليبي، مشيرا إلى أن الطائرات الفرنسية بدأت بمهاجمة ليبيا قبل أن يتخذ قرار مشترك بهذا الشأن.
Hello everyone, welcome back to GGN. Today is Wednesday, January 16th, 2013, and I'm Darko. This is part 2 for this news report today. We're going to continue where we left off. Berlusconi of Italy says Libya's revolution was a fake. So it's kind of interesting how they start off. It says the same could not be said about Osama bin Laden's departure. In that case, the U.S. soldiers bravely went into Afghanistan, saw, and at the last minute were pulled back and prevented from killing bin Laden in 2001 by their superiors in D.C. He later died of natural causes, hardly the spectacular ending to his life that is portrayed in Zero Dark 30. There is zero truth in that film. So I just thought that video would be interesting to tie in there. We'll finish up with Mali and what the Western powers and that are going to do, the imperialists, the colonialists. Warplanes sail on French agenda in the UAE. France's president opened talks with top leaders in Abu Dhabi on Tuesday in hopes of pushing ahead efforts to sell up to 60 Rafale fighter jets to the UAE and strengthen French ties in the Gulf energy and defense industries. And to Afghanistan, we have Pentagon swears it won't sell killer drones to Afghanistan, just spy ones. So after Afghan president boasted that the U.S. was about to give him a fleet of his own drones, the Pentagon confirmed on Tuesday that it is in talks to sell Afghan drones, but the drones will be tiny, low-flying, and unarmed. German economy shrank in last quarter of 2012, the statistics office says. And the thing that's important to note is it says that experts say that Germany, which is the largest economy in Europe, will be less of a support in 2013 for the rest of the Eurozone, where many countries are in deep recession. Next up, we have Germany to send military planes to transport African troops to Mali. So they've pledged to dispatch 2 military transport planes to the African troops to join the French-led operations against rebel forces in Mali. This is again followed by what? German Patriot missiles headed for Turkey. So you got the German military-industrial complex too, I guess. It says UN supports France-Mali intervention. No big, real surprise here, right? All you have to do is cry, the terrorists are coming and they're killing people and there's a humanitarian disaster, and they support it. So according to France's UN ambassador, it says here that the UN Security Council on Mali expressed, quote, understanding and support, end quote, for the military intervention on Monday. So it's weird how close the word is, invasion and intervention, or intervening. Algeria military says 3 militants killed trying to cross southern desert borders. This is what I was talking about will happen. It'll spill over, right? And Algeria will be the country. So Algeria's defense ministry announced the killing of 3 militants and the wounding of 2 others who were trying to cross its southeast desert border near Niger and Libya. The statement Monday did not say what group the militants belonged to, just that they were riding in a 4-wheel drive vehicle mounted with heavy machine guns. 5 AK-47 assault rifles were also seized. Algeria closes its borders with Mali as conflict escalates. They say they're closing its border with Mali, and the move comes as UN prepares to hold closed-door talks about ongoing crisis. Well, we know what they did. They're going to support it, right? Surprisingly enough, because Algeria was actually the ones, remember I said, everyone was waiting on them to give them the green light. But the foreign minister of Algeria said on Saturday that they expressed unequivocal support for the transitional authorities in Mali, i.e. foreigner-induced regime change. Somalia government uninformed of French raid, says defense minister. In Somalia, the federal government in Somalia said that they told reporters that they were uninformed of the French military operation in Somalia. So it says here that they're very disappointed with France's unilateral military action as the government was uninformed. The government will not tolerate similar unilateral actions in the future. The minister noted that Somali officials had previously tried measures to safely rescue the French hostage who was kidnapped by al-Shabaab militants in 2009. There's 2 killed and over 40 kidnapped in an attack on BP installations in Algeria. So it goes on here and it says that at least 2 people, including a French national, have been killed and more than 40 foreigners kidnapped in an attack conducted by militants fighting in Mali on a gas field run by the oil giant British Petroleum in Algeria. Reports further said that 5 Japanese nationals working for the engineering organization JCG Corp, an Irishman and French national, have also been kidnapped by the militants. And then you have a British national killed in Algeria by, says, Al-Qaeda-linked rebels. Apparently it was a revenge attack, and all these kidnappings and what's going on with British, French, and all them. Even I think it was U.S. citizens among hostages held in Algeria, Texas. U.S. State Department is revenge. That's what they're saying. That they attack Europe, it'll be out of revenge for the invasion of their country, I guess. The best information that we have at this time is that the U.S. citizens are among the hostages. This is the U.S. State Department spokesman Victoria Nuland said on Wednesday. Yemen says Al-Qaeda holding Western hostages. This is a Finnish couple and Australian man abducted in Yemen last month are being held hostage or members of Al-Qaeda after being sold to the militant group by tribesmen. And so we'll move to Syria and other places. Triple car bombs in Syria leave 24 dead, so it's getting pretty gruesome out there right now. It says 24 people killed in 3 coordinated car bombings in northern Syria province of Idlib. So it says it took place on Wednesday after 3 car bombs exploded in the province, killing 24 people, including security forces, injuring dozens of others, including, I guess, civilians. The first explosion took place in this Al-Zira square, and the second in this Al-Mutlaq square. So it goes on here, it says they blame foreign-backed militants for the deadly bombings. It comes only a day after 2 explosions hit Aleppo University in Syria's second largest city, killing over 87 people and injuring more than 160. So this is psychological operations here. I remember seeing a video from 108 Morris 108 when he was interviewing a professor that lived in Syria. And he was saying that, you know, it's just to get to work every day and go into class and stuff like that. He's like, it's, you know, you can tell it's bringing about some traumatic stress on these people, on the students and on the professors and teachers and all that, because they don't know when they're going to get killed, right? So it's all these militant, or not militants, I mean, they have foreign-backed militants, I guess you can call them, but they're a proxy force. They're a proxy terrorist mercenary force for the Zionists and the Western forces. And like to instill fear. So what they do is they attack schools, they attack infrastructure, political offices, you know, just innocent civilians and stuff like that, mosques, churches, and any kind of divide and conquer stuff. Some displaced Syrians, including women and children who had sought refuge at the university complex, were among the casualties. White House doubts Syrian chemical weapons report. The White House late Tuesday expressed skepticism about a report that Syria's military used a chemical weapon against its own people in the city of Homs in December, but did not flatly deny the account. So it's kind of weird stuff going on here. In other words, they knew about the disinfo that was being put out, but they're not going to put their name on it as being true or fact. The reporting we have seen from media sources regarding alleged chemical weapons incidents has not been consistent with what we believe to be true. So, but that's why they're not going to flatly deny it, because that would incriminate themselves, and then they're not going to do that. Terrorists use Syrian refugees to put pressure on Assad. So this is part of the Brookings Institute policy, using innocent civilian bystanders as pawns, right, to get put pressure on Assad to step down. So it says terrorists are trying to abuse Syrian refugees by hindering the delivery of aid to refugees in camps in a bid to lay the blame on the Syrian government and pit the refugees against President Assad's government. So it says here the lawmaker blamed the West and Israel for endeavoring to sow discord in the region with the aim of undermining anti-Israel resistance, and insisted that the regional nations are the only sources to resolve their problems. Quote, starting bloodbath and fratricide in Syria is among the evil goals whose scenario has been written by the opponents of the Muslim world. So he's talking about, you know, Zionists and Christian Zionists, usually Christians and that who do the bidding for the Zionists. You know, like in Iraq, you know, you can go in there and check out that video on YouTube. It's, you know, talking about Mossad snipers shooting American soldiers in the head, in the back, killing them, right? Zionist Mossad soldiers in Iraq, while they were trying to, quote, defend, you know, or whatever, help the Iraqi people and get the extremists out, they were getting shot in the back. Israeli snipers. So just to cause discord, to get the U.S. troops more fired up so they could just go in there and kill without remorse. The Iranian lawmaker also called on Syrian refugees to see through the plot hatched by terrorists and Western governments and understand that their dire situation is due to pressure from terrorists as well as their Arab and Western backers, Gulf states of course, and has nothing to do with the Syrian government. Syrian refugees say rape is a key reason they fled, says the report. So it says here that rape is one of the primary reasons that Syrian refugees say they fled their country, a significant and disturbing feature of the war raging between the rebels, the foreigners, and the Syrian government. So interesting too that also now they're bringing rape up. They keep pulling that rape card, and now they're pulling it in the refugee camps, saying that, oh, now Syrian women are getting married earlier because they don't want to be raped. Assad may run for 2014 elections. It says here, Syria's President Assad may defy calls by people that are not his countrymen and stand for election in 2014. So the same people that spout this democracy crap don't like when they're going to actually have their own elections or decide their own fate. Now, they want to do it for them, like I said. So this is what I've been talking about, though. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to get it before the 2014 election and all that. They have to do it before the election. So this was already going to happen no matter what. It's not something new. It's just that, it makes it seem like it's new because, well, the U.S. and the West are trying to impose this regime change the way they want to do it. So, and it hasn't happened yet. So Syria's foreign rebels demand an Islamic State. The rebels say democracy out of the question for post-Assad Syria. So they want democracy, but this is what they're going to get, right? And this is what the West is supporting, and they know this, just like in Libya and other countries like in Iraq. It says the rebellion is increasingly composed of foreign fighters, many religiously motivated, and their agenda has changed from a free Syria, peaceful activist to basically an Islamist state with a harsh brand of Sharia law. It seems the fighters have more in common with the Al-Qaeda-backed rebel group than the Western nations that continue to support them. And we have British police snatch 4 men for seeking to join terrorists in Syria, arrested in Britain on charges of seeking to travel to Syria to join the foreign-backed insurgency against the country's popular government of Assad. Then we have Egyptian democracy workers, regime change workers is more like it, still on trial for helping U.S. groups. I always thought it was funny because it's like, I saw these women in these videos from Algeria back then, during the beginning of the Arab Spring in Egypt and all that, and they were very liberalized, and semi-free, and it's like, and then when they were talking crap about these tanks, the tanks in the Egyptian army in the street, and I'm like, okay, well, if you don't want that, what are you going to get? I'm not saying pick the two choices. It'd be great if they really had freedom and the ability to decide their own fate. But they were bitching about the tanks in the army, but at the same time, it's the tanks in the army that are protecting you from the Islamic extremists, which then are going to make you wear scarves, and you're not going to be wearing sunglasses and holding iPhones. So it's like you could see how people are just complete pawns, like these, quote, democracy workers. Yeah, she said that they were standing trial. Her headscarf is exceptionally fashionable, looking more like a Spanish wrap than a traditional Islamic garb, because it carries a designer bag, and her iPhone cover photo is of her flip-flops. She's charged with helping Western non-profit organizations that operate illegally there. So her Western colleagues fled months ago, and she and 14 Egyptians may face years in jails for their efforts to promote democratic movements among Egypt's nascent political parties. So they're getting tried by the same people. They helped create this unrest, and now that they got the non-secular state, now they're bitching. So like I said this like a year ago, that hey, don't bitch when you get this, and now they got it. So and that's what that former KGB guy, Bredsman office, calling useful idiots. Iraq to seize Kurdish oil exports. Baghdad to seize oil and sue companies. As the Kurdish regional government had began shipping crude oil to Turkey over the past week, displeased Baghdad government basically seized the unauthorized oil exports. In Iraq, there's a slaughter, 55 killed, 288 wounded. Deadliest day of 2013. Then you have key Iraqi Sunni MP assassinated in suicide attack near Fallujah. Then you have Turkish jets pound 50 PKK positions in Iraq, that's the Kurds. Hundreds of Kurdish women in Turkey protest killings in Paris. Probably work of French government as a gift to the Turkish administration. Canada to take in 5,000 Iranian and Iraqi refugees. Lebanon's Hezbollah has been helping Syrian refugees. And we'll return with this and we'll move on to police state news. This is GGN.